Siddhant, thanks for joining us. My first question. India has, of course, been invited to join in on this energy partnership. So what does India bring to the table?
Well, India brings to the table many things because of its increased engagement in the Mediterranean. Now, remember the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi was in Greece just a few weeks ago. Before that, he was in Egypt, and India was quick to supply Turkey and Syria with aid when the earthquakes struck both the countries earlier this year. Now, India has been reaching out to Mediterranean in every way possible in terms of manpower, in terms of engagement, and of course, there are plans of a larger connectivity project, which of course the Israeli Prime Minister talked about. Connectivity project connecting the Mediterranean to India via the Arab world. And one of the things that make it possible is the Abraham Accords that has led to normalization of relationship between Israel and many countries in West Asian region. We have seen a trilateral as well, that is Israel, UAE and India. We have seen I2U2, which involves all these three countries and US. And now, of course, India's engagement with countries like Greece and Cyprus, with which India has good relationship, only adds India's clout in that region. And that is why we saw three leaders standing alongside each other, the Israeli Prime Minister, the Greek leadership and the Cyprus leadership, talking about how India needs to be involved in this trilateral.
Right, Siddhant, another question. We recently saw Prime Minister Modi squeezing in a visit to Greece after his participation in the BRICS summit in Johannesburg. So how important is the Mediterranean region for India's energy outlook?
Well, when it comes to India's energy output, India has been reaching out to countries always to fulfill its energy demands. India has the largest population on the planet, and India needs cheap energy. Whether it's the Russian energy after the Ukraine conflict that gave heartburns to many countries in the West, or whether it is reaching out to the Mediterranean, which has good supply of natural gas. Of course, there are logistical issues as of now. The idea of India being involved in the trilateral has been proposed, and the focus is that the next year's trilateral between the Israeli, the Greece and Cypriot leadership that takes place in Jerusalem, the Indian Prime Minister will be called. But essentially, energy is something that binds countries together. There are producers and there are importers, and India as a large importing country will always be keen to have new sources of energy and cheap sources of energy. And that is why when it comes to India's engagement with the Mediterranean region, this is something that India has been focusing on, and it is the top priority for New Delhi.
Siddhant, thanks for all those updates. Now, Israel is also part of this tripartite meeting that is highly expected, and which is why joining us now for more analysis is our correspondent Jody Cohen, live from Granada. Jody, thanks for joining us. What can you tell us about the latest on India's potential involvement with the tripartite meeting of Israel, Greece and Cyprus?
Right, hi Priyanka. So, according to some media reports here, they're suggesting that Prime Minister Modi actually suggested India's involvement in this tripartite initiative. He has suggested it to the tripartite leaders, suggesting that India is interested in expanding and getting involved with this regional cooperation. Now, as we saw at the press conference between Israel, Greece and Cyprus, Cypriot presidents talked about looking to expand the tripartite, referencing the three countries plus one referencing the United States, but specifically referenced India. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu also talked about a corridor from Asia, again referencing India, through the Arabian Peninsula to the Eastern Mediterranean and to Europe. And the Greek Prime Minister also talked about their interest in national gas export partnerships with other countries, and again referenced India. He talked about the potential to invite India to the next tripartite summit, which he suggested would be held in Israel next year. So lots of references to India there. I have to say also lots of references to the potential for involving the Abraham Accords countries as well.
Right, Jody, thanks so much for all those updates. Thanks for joining us on WION at this hour.